Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to today's video of Poorly Appreciated, focusing on childhood nostalgia. The transmission device for this episode will be the Velma TV show, and for those of you who do not know, Velma is a TV show based off another TV show called Scooby-Doo. Scooby-Doo follows the story of four kids and a talking dog traveling across continents in a van, solving mysteries involving supernatural events or creatures. At the end of each episode of the Scooby-Doo TV show, they will unveil the causation to be some small business owner scaring local townsfolk for a meager profit. The show has over 50 years of history, meaning great-grandparents can watch it with great-grandkids, sharing childhood memories together, reminiscing, and creating them simultaneously. The Velma TV show takes this concept and throws it out the window. It decides to remove the namesake of the show, Scooby-Doo the Talking Dog, give racist race swapping to a couple of the characters, and then to add the cherry on top is just a horrible TV show as a blank statement. It has somehow accomplished being the worst rated animated TV show on IMDb, which is an impressive feat. Now, there are many videos on commentary, on plot devices, all covering the Velma TV show, criticizing it for its writing and narrative. But one thing I have found, at least with every video I have watched, is a separation from the emotive state that the change of Velma from the original Scooby-Doo TV show might cause. The creators of these videos do not want to be associated with an angry fandom or just angry fans in general about the show changing. They only want to specify that's a bad show, not that the change is bad. Well, I'm here to do the opposite. I'm here to say that the change is bad and possibly even worse of a connotation than how poorly written the TV show is in general. See, Scooby-Doo provides a cross-generational nostalgia. Kids, parents, grandparents, great-grandparents can all share in the appreciation and enjoyment of the Scooby-Doo TV show. The 50 years of movies, video games, and series that the Scooby-Doo franchise has cemented the characters as not just some fictional superhero that you'll look to for a brief period of entertainment, but friends from childhood. Consistent people who you know better than any acquaintance. You've seen the rise and fall of their personal struggles. You've seen more serious or lighthearted takes. You've seen their more embarrassing moments. But all of that is thrown away and trampled on by the Velma TV show. And then it's buried by people saying that it's fine, that was done, and the only issue is the poor writing. The fact is, the childhood nostalgia that the Scooby-Doo brings to so many generations is more valuable than any well-written masterpiece. Childhood nostalgia is a pathway to retrace our steps back into the mindset of a child. The mindset that allows people to look at the world with endless hope and curiosity. That's the importance of childhood nostalgia. It's not the object, but as the meaning it has gained through the connection to children it brings. And by a byproduct of connecting to children, to the adults who grew up watching it. Now, before I continue to praise the mindset of a child, I do want to clarify. We should mature. Maturity requires a bit of pessimism, and maturity brings practicality to every idea a person has. It brings substance to thought, rather than just some abstract hopes. However, we should also appreciate the mindset of a child, because the hope, the curiosity, the joy that can be irrational at sometimes is all found within a child's mindset, within the worldview that they hold. Not one of philosophic debating or sociological issues, but instead of purity, of an innocence and ignorance that allows for the world to be its very best, unhindered by the knowledge of the evil and the wrongdoing that is out there. Joy is found in the most bland. Curiosity is found in the simplest thing. And innocence is in the way that they treat each other. Selfish actions are taken, but not with the malicious understanding we have of ourselves as we mature. of the wrongdoings we do to one another and knowing their effects. Rather, there is an ignorance justified through comprehension that restores and gives birth to the most utopian ideas. Now, I realize at this point of time in the video, I have only made assertions. I've said that 4 is 4, and I haven't said why 2 plus 2 equals 4. This can seem very arrogant or misleading if left to itself. So I'm going to break down, in reverse order, the exact reasoning behind each of the assertions I made. First, to expound upon the point of comprehension that I previously stated, I think an analogy would suit it best. In order to drive in America, you first need a driver's license. That driver's license you need to study for. However, since it is earned through a test, there is the off chance that someone could miraculously get their license without actually being too well acquainted with the laws involving the road. However, that would not be due to the fault of the system set in place to get your license, as it repeatedly emphasizes the importance of knowing these rules and laws and procedures, but instead it would be on the person for not studying or taking the proper care and responsibility that they are accepting when they use the privilege to drive. So, in the case that someone didn't properly study, but somehow made their way, luckily enough, to the test to get their license, any disobedience to the rules of the road that cause accidents or loss of life would not be caused outside of their control, but due to negligence on their part for not being responsible in comprehending the laws that were in place and were emphasized in importance. If someone speeds in a school zone and hits a child, that doesn't mean that they were just too ignorant to know they needed to slow down. It means they were negligent in comprehending the world around them and being responsible for their own actions and the consequences they'll have, adding a guilt of fatal laziness. Children, however, with their limited ability to comprehend the evils of the world and comprehend the consequences of their own action, do not suffer the same judgment. You can look at this in the same case you would look at a mentally handicapped person under trial for some sort of crime. In most cases, depending upon the ailment they suffer from, if they've committed a crime, the judge will have to deem whether they were actually capable of understanding the crime they committed, even if it was taught to them. Another parallel is the understanding of death that children will often struggle with when it comes to comprehending the loss of a loved one. The easiest way to explain it is that you'll never see that loved one again, but death is more than that. It represents so much more than that. Whether it goes from science to poetry to social studies, the complexity of death far surpasses the lacking of presence of a loved one. However, it's not due to laziness that a child doesn't understand it. It's that their mind just struggles with that comprehension. It doesn't allow for it yet. Now, eventually, as they grow, there is a maturity in which that comprehension becomes available. And with that comprehension, an understanding more of their own actions and their consequences that can allow for negligent behavior. But before children can have the comprehension necessary for negligence, what they actually have is ignorance, one that provides an innocence in every action they take, and even in their consequences. Now, to clarify, when I'm referring to children, I refer to toddlers here. I don't mean teenager or tween. It is a much younger child, the age you can find out for yourself, as even I have not discerned for my own judgment a solid basis to go off of. But a younger child, in the general sense, closer to a toddler's age, is the only one that qualifies of having this ignorance caused by an inability to comprehend their own actions and the evil in general that goes on in the world. So, with ignorance providing innocence, the mindset of a child is at its purest. It is the most morally commendable state to exist in. Simultaneously, it is one that we all leave behind at some point of time. In reality, I don't expect that the innocence of a child, depending on the age, would ever come into question with most people, as even one of the most prolific religions in the entirety of the world, Christianity, has content devoted to the speciality of a child's innocence. To cite it, "Who is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven? And calling to him a child, he put him in the midst of them and said, Truly I say to you, unless you turn and become like children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven." Now, as a translation of that, as far as my understanding allows it, It is talking about the innocence, and also refers to faith, that a child will have, and that without such innocence, or without such faith, that the ability to enter heaven is restricted. Now, Christianity has its whole length of follow-up and beforehand, so if you wish to scrutinize my reading of that verse, please go ahead. But the points that I bring up this representation from the Bible of childhood innocence is because Christianity has such a big impact on not only Western philosophy, but in fact on the entirety of the world. Much of the sciences and pursuits that we have as modern day people in the 21st century stem originally from many priests or theologians. Now, why is it important that the valuing of childhood gets connected to a religion that has propagated the progression of human systems, such as science? That's because childhood not only provides an innocence of commendable moral existence, but also provides the curiosity that drives most of the pioneers in society. If you look to many brilliant minds, you'll find their inspiration comes from childhood, or from childlike thinking, adopting a endless curiosity and hope. Now let's tie this into childhood nostalgia, and my points about that. Childhood nostalgia is the road we walk to remember, appreciate, and tap into the power and understanding of the mindset we had when we were children. It allows us to tap into the curiosity. It allows us to use that innocent worldview to see the best and to see hope in that which is around us. It is a sad state of existence, but a necessary one, that pessimism accompanies maturity. And while maturity is also necessary for the actual implementation of ideas and for the functioning of society, pessimism must come along with that to understand that there are people out there who will hurt us, who will hurt our dreams, and who we will hurt. An acceptance of the negative and a preparation for it can never be abandoned in the pursuit of maturity and growth. But without the ability to see the world with the innocence of a child, where the best comes to light, nihilism would consume the entirety of the human race into slow death. No progress would be made because the world ends eventually. No relationships would be formed because you know you will get hurt at some point of time. No love or sacrifice will be given because no one would be worth anything outside of your solitude existence. But the mind of a child allows the maturity of dealing with reality to become problem-solving thinking in pursuit of the world we knew as kids. It allows for the forward motion of every aspect of growth. And yes, Scooby-Doo, by a byproduct, promotes growth. Scooby-Doo provides a channel of nostalgia, not only for one generation, not only for 2 generations, possibly even 4 generations. Depending on when you watch this, maybe even more, all to be connected to their childhood. So why does more generations matter? It's because if we can see in other people the children they once were, while remembering those moments when we were kids ourselves, the hope of interaction, of relationships, of empathy, not to feel sympathetic towards people, but to truly understand them for who they are as individuals, is encouraged, is cultivated by this shared sense of nostalgia, this form of communal gathering that can span continents through one source of media. So I will say it with certainty. The worst part about Velma is not the writing, it's the change. It is throwing away that which brought out the child in so many, that hinders the gathering of relational bonds, that stunts the progress of growth, and disregards the value of the childhood mindset. It's that which is so damaging on multiple levels that should be disliked, that not when it comes to the people, but when it comes to the show itself, should even be hated, as it comes in a form of attack towards connection that is so hard to keep, even with nostalgia preserved and well. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video, the breakdown, and that all my explanations helped you understand what I was trying to make sense of in this more abstract subject. I also hope that you will comment down below, not to boost the interactions of this video, though I guess that's a side benefit, but to commune with other people about what your favorite childhood nostalgia is. Was it a toy? Is it a food? Is it a TV show? Or even to criticize this video, not out of a sense of preconceived rejection, but out of hopefully a formulated replacement towards points I've made that doesn't just tear down an idea, but build up a better one in its place. And with that, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.